Hi everybody, Chef Mike here for the Burlington Wine Club. Today we're going to make one of my favorite dishes for this meeting, risotto. Now this is be a special one, Risotto Milanese, but risotto is a base, good place to start. Your kit comes with 3 different items. One's half a cup of rice, quarter cup of cheese, and the last container contains a bouillon cube and some saffron. That's all you're going to need from the club to make your own risotto. You're going to need about half a cup of fresh chopped onion, a quarter cup of garlic, or whatever, how much you want to put in. I got 3 or 4 good cloves in here. That's what I like. First thing you do, take your bouillon cube, take your saffron, and it goes to about 3 cups of water. If you want to already use stock, that's completely up to you. This goes on the stove, gets hot. Also, turn your oven on to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You've checked your oven for calibration, right? You know it's around 400? If not, check your oven at least once a year. Now comes the actual mechanics of making risotto Milanese. What makes it risotto Milanese is that traditionally, risotto does not have really expensive ingredients in it because usually it's actually a poverty food. A little goes a long way. But the Milanese version has saffron, which is very, very exclusive stuff, but readily available. Adds a lovely, interesting flavor. What we're going to do now, I've got some butter, I've got a little bit of oil. I like to use a combination of the two. And we're going to saute off our onions and garlic. Now, we do not want to color them. We simply want them to be browned. Now I'm using butter, so there's a lovely brown butter sauce for this. In just a few minutes, your next step is to add the rice. That should take 2, 3, 5 minutes, somewhere in there. After that, take your arborio rice, dump it all in, and you want to toast your rice, which means you want to get it all surrounded in all that butter and oil. That helps the shell of the rice to pop open, giving that lovely creamy starch that makes for creamy risotto. This should take about 2 minutes. So after you've toasted for a minute or 2, you normally would add a quarter cup of your favorite wine, whatever you like to have. That also adds a layer of acid to the risotto itself. I'm not going to do that because I prefer to actually drink my own wine than to cook with. But traditionally, the wine that you're going to serve with the meal is the wine you want to use in here. Quarter cup, let it absorb is perfectly fine. If you go down a different road like I'm going to do, now you bring your stock over that you ballooned with the cube and the saffron, and you want to add about 3/4 of it in here. Now each one of those cubes makes about 3 cups. And this is where, traditionally in risotto, you would do a ladle. I'm going to show you a better way to do it. That's why you turned your oven on earlier. Here's your cheese, Parmesan cheese. You can use Asiago, you can use other ones if you want. I like the flavor of Parmesan. That's my personal favorite thing. In this goes, I'm going to stir this just to combine it. I'm not going to add any salt and pepper yet because I don't know how much it's actually going to need because the stock tends to be pretty salty. And once that's done, remember the oven you turned on at 400 earlier? This entire pan goes in the oven for 15 minutes. Most people don't make risotto at home. They think it's too hard, it takes too long, there's too many steps, it takes too many skills in the kitchen. The reality is risotto is actually very easy. By frying the onions, frying the garlic, toasting the rice, and making the stock over there, you've done 80 or 90% of the work already. Now, traditionally, risotto is made one step at a time. You do a ladle, you let it soak, you do a ladle, you let it soak, and that's where the misconception about how long it actually takes comes from. Let me show you a chef hack to solve that problem. Your time in the oven is going to vary a little bit, but it's going to be between 22 and about 25 minutes. The same amount of time you would do if you're doing it ladle by ladle by ladle, but this is far, far less work. And for chefs like me, less work is better. We're going to take that time to do other things. For example, I just cleaned up around here. You always want to clean as you go. It makes things easier at the end of the night. Now, when it comes to risotto though, there's a little trick we chefs do, is you can actually do what's called para cooking. That means you cook it 3/4 of the way and then stop it. When you've done that, if you're doing, for example, a dinner party that evening, in the morning at 9, 10 o'clock, when you've got some time, you can make your rice 80% of the way, hold it cold, and then finish it off later on. And you simply finish it by adding a little more stock and a little more cheese and checking your seasoning. I'll show you that in just a minute. So that has been in the oven for about 15 minutes at 400. Now, you'll notice this is an oven-proof pan. I didn't specify that before, but I really hope that everybody has one of these. If you haven't got an oven-proof pan, what you can actually do is cheat, use aluminum foil and wrap your existing handles of the nonstick pans. But for the $100 one of these things cost, it's a once-in-a-lifetime investment. So before I talked about stopping the rice partway through, this is where you would stop the rice. Right here, you take this, pour this into a big bowl so it cools rapidly, and then finish it off by adding stock and baking it off the afternoon that your guests show up. I'm going to cook this all the way through. Now, see how creamy this got? I kept back some of my stock. Right now, I'm gonna add the rest of my stock here. Keep back just a few tablespoons. And I'm gonna take this chance, just taste it a little bit. Yeah, that bouillon cube's got enough salt. It doesn't need any more salt. This goes back in the oven for 10 minutes, and then we should be done. So there's our second batch of cooking, about 10 more minutes. You'll see, notice now it's gotten very creamy, rich. This is still a little bit thin, but this will thicken up as it cools. Now at this point in time, this is risotto Milanese, traditionally. You would add a little more saffron, a little more cheese if you want, but this is just the starting place for a dish like this. Fresh lobster that's been cooked, chopped up, tossed in here. Sweet peas tossed in here, it's fantastic. I do those are my personal favorites to do. You can do, if you have any leftover cooked up chicken, that's how I chop it up. As long as it's cooked, throw it in there. The sauce will actually adhere to it, it'll make it lovely and creamy and rich. Anything you want this to be, you make this your own. Now I made this vegetarian because I used a vegetarian cube. You can make this vegan by using olive oil and certain cheeses you can actually buy. If you want to make it super meaty, you could add beef and chicken stock as opposed to the vegetable stock that I used. Lots of options. Make this your own. Please enjoy and try it out. It's not that hard. Best part is you make lots of it. It keeps pretty well in the fridge for 4 or 5 days. So it's a great way to make your meals once for the week. So you can even see now, just in that few minutes, how stirred it's gotten creamier and richer. I know it doesn't need any seasoning because my stock cubes has a lot of seasoning in it. But again, if you want to taste it, like a little more salt, that's up to you. Never forget though, Parmesan cheese also is quite salty. I'll be on the call on Thursday night for the Zoom meeting if you have any questions. If not, just email me, Mike at chefmike.ca. Have a great time. Hope you enjoy this.